It was the night of the Pact, a sacred evening held once every 10 years, when the village offered thanks to the forest gods who had protected them for generations. At the heart of the ritual was the god of Ukuta, carved from the wood of the first Iroko tree to ever grow in the forest. Within it was the ash of ancestors, salt from the Ogogoro River, and blood from the village's most noble animal, a white ram. The drum had started at dusk, echoing through the forest in perfect rhythm. Chief Ojo, though weakened by age, stood tall beside the sacred fire. His voice had carried like thunder as he recited the ancient incantations passed down from his grandfather, the father of Ilaji. 12 flames to guard the pact, he said, 12 warriors to honor the bond. The chosen guards had stepped forward proudly, each wearing red wrappers and white clay across their foreheads. They carried long torches, their faces unreadable. Among them was Akin the hunter, the strongest man in the village, Ifeoma the quiet widow, whose husband died during the last pact, Malik the deaf boy, who understood animals more than people, Yemoja the chief's niece, who once dreamed of leaving Ilaji, and Mama Tutu the herbalist, whose eyes were as sharp as a thorn. They were told to surround the river path, where the guard would be lowered into the sacred basin. They obeyed. Then, without warning, it happened. The drum stopped. A sharp, unnatural silence swallowed the village. Women clutched their wrappers tighter. Children stared. The flames flickered. Chief Ojo paused mid-chant. He looked toward the east, toward the river path, where the torchbearers had disappeared into the shadows. His voice dropped. Why have the drums gone quiet? A blood-curdling scream answered him. Then nothing. When the villagers rushed to the river path, their torches flickering wildly, all 12 warriors were gone. No blood, no struggle, only smoke. And the guard split open, its sacred contents peeled across the stone like a broken curse. The next morning, a black bird with red eyes perched on every rooftop in Ilaji. And that was how the village learned that someone among them had betrayed the gods. Someone who stood beside them. Someone who knew the sacred path. Someone they trusted. But who? The morning after the drums fell silent, Ilaji was not the same. Smoke from hearth fires called slower. The breeze carried no laughter. Chickens refused to lay and goats refused to eat. On every rooftop, the same bird watched in silence, black, with blood-red eyes. Chief Ojo sat in the village square, his wrinkled hands trembling around the staff, carved with the marks of 7 generations. The elders sat around him, grim and speechless. The sacred god was no more. The pact had been shattered. The gods were angry. And someone they knew had betrayed them. We must find the hand that broke the guard, Chief Ojo said finally, his voice hoarse, before the land dies. No one spoke. No one moved. Then the old priestess, Mama Kenga, rose from her mat. Her hair was wrapped in deep indigo cloth, her walking stick edged with cowrie shells and bronze. The god spoke to me last night, she said. They whispered 5 names, 5 souls tied to the forest. One of them wears a mask. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Call them, Chief Ojo said. Let them stand before the village. They came before sunset, summoned by the beating of the iron gong. Akin the hunter stood tall. scars ran down his forearms from years of battle with wild beasts. He was the first to arrive, bare-chested and barefoot, smelling of the forests. Ifeoma the widow came next, in silence, her wrapper tied tightly as if holding herself together. Her eyes betrayed nothing, but the village remembered that her husband, Chuka, had vanished 10 years ago during the last pact. Malik, the deaf boy, now 17, walked with his younger sister guiding him. He smiled at the elders but looked only at the trees, as if waiting for them to speak. People whispered that Malik could sense things no one else could. Yemoja, the chief's niece, wore a simple yellow gown and golden anklet that jingled as she moved. Her beauty had turned many heads in Ilaji, but her heart had once wandered elsewhere. She had tried to leave Ilaji once and failed. Then came Mama Tutu the herbalist, short and round, with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. She carried a bag of dried leaves and mortar to herself. Some said she knew the name of every tree in Ukuta. Others said she could turn poison into prayer. The 5 stood in a line before the elders. "The gods chose you," Chief Ojo began. "One of you carries the truth. One of you carries the curse." Whispers rippled through the crowd. "You will walk together. You will go to the forests. You will find who broke the god. You will return with the truth, or you will not return at all." Mama Kenga raised her staff. "The gods have sealed this path. If the betrayal lies again, the forest will take them." The air grew cold. Even the birds went quiet. That night, the 5 were given a hut near the forest edge, away from the village. They would eat together, sleep together, and journey into Ukuta together. But trust had already cracked. Ifeoma kept to herself, staring at the flames as if searching for ghosts. Malik carved shapes in the soil, whispering names no one else heard. Mama Tutu bowed something bitter, watching the others from behind her clay pots. Yemoja kept her back to the door. And Akin stood outside, staring into the trees, his machete already sharpened. And Akin stood outside, staring into the trees, his machete already sharpened. Inside the hut, a strange sound drifted through the air. A soft chant, a whisper in a tongue long forgotten. It came from the forest or from one of them, but no one said a word. And no one noticed that Mama Tutu's shadow stretched a little longer than the others, crawling toward Malik's sleeping mat, then vanishing like smoke. By dawn, the village square was empty. The villagers stayed indoors, whispering behind shut windows. They knew what it meant when people were sent into Ukuta. Most never came back. The 5 chosen ones stood at the edge of the forest, where the soil turned red and the trees grew too close together. The air there was always damp, always thick, like it was hiding something. Chief Ojo stood behind them, leaning on his staff. "The forest does not forget," he said, "and it does not forgive. If you lie in its belly, it will know." No one replied. Mama Kenga handed Akin a leather pouch. Inside was a kola nut, a white stone and a black feather. "Protection," she said, "if your heart is clean." Akin nodded, then turned and led the way. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became. No bird calls, no rustling leaves, just breath, footsteps and doubts. Akin moved like he belonged in the woods, cutting vines and brushing aside thorns. He didn't speak. He rarely did. Beside him, Malik tapped a rhythm on his thigh, counting silently. The forest made him nervous, but not because of its silence. It was because he could hear things others could not. Tiny, distant pulses, like heartbeats underground. Ifeoma walked in the middle, eyes darting. She knew the forests. Her husband Chuka had gone missing here. No one had ever found his body, just his walking stick, wedged between two roots like an insult. Mama Tutu collected herbs and whispered to herself, sometimes giggling. "This leaf," she said once, holding up a small red plant, "can wake the dead or kill the living, depending on the mood." Yemoja didn't laugh. "You speak like someone who has done both." Mama Tutu smiled. "I speak like someone who is old enough to know how little you understand." They walked on. By mid-afternoon, the group came upon a clearing. In the center was a cycle of stones, perfectly arranged, unnaturally so. Akin stopped. "This wasn't here before," he said. "How would you know?" Yemoja asked. "I hunt here." "That doesn't mean you own the trees." Mama Tutu leaned closer to the stones. "It's not the stones you should fear," she said softly. "It is who placed them." She dropped a handful of ash onto the cycle. The stones shifted. Malik gasped and pointed. "One is missing," he said in his own way, drawing a symbol on the soil. They counted 11 stones, one for each warrior who vanished that night. "Where's the 12th? Ifeoma asked. The ground answered. From beneath the soil, something moved, slowly, deliberately. The group stepped back as the body slowly rose from the earth. Skin cracked like clay, eyes hollow, lips sewn shut. On its chest, a mark burned through its skin. A broken gourd. Mama Tutu grabbed the leaf from her pouch and began chanting. But the body did not attack. It only pointed to Yemoja, to Ifeoma, to Akin. Then it collapsed into dust. No one moved. The forest mourned. That night, they camped far from the clearing. Malik wouldn't sleep. He kept drawing the same image over and over. A cycle with a jagged crack through it. A broken bond. By morning, the trees leaned inward. The air was heavier. Something unseen watched them from every direction, and none of them could shake the feeling that they were being led, not walking freely. Akin called for movement. "We don't camp tonight in one spot. Something will find us." They agreed reluctantly. As they walked, the air thickened. The forest began to hum, a slow pulsing sound beneath the soil, inside the bark, even in the rocks. Malik covered his ears and crouched low. He pointed at the ground, drew another symbol in the dirt, an eye. "It sees us," Yemoja whispered. "The forest knows." Mama Tutu stopped abruptly. Her face had gone pale. "We are close. I can smell blood that was never washed." Akin raised a hand. "There," he said. Just ahead, under the largest tree they had seen since entering Ukuta, sat a shrine. Cracked pots, rusted beads, broken spears, and in the center the missing stone, the 12th. It was painted in ash. Beside it lay something else, a dried white feather from a ritual ram stained with red. The sacred guard's final resting place. Suddenly, the air split with a scream. Malik was on the ground, convulsing. His eyes rolled back, his mouth opened. But his voice was not his. It was a deep guttural chant. One that chilled even Mama Tutu's bones. Then silence. Then pointed straight at Akin. Everyone turned. Akin didn't flinch. "No," he said calmly. "He's wrong." But Mama Tutu stepped forward. "You were there first. You were alone before the rest. You knew the rules. I've gathered the pact 3 times before, Akin said. I would never break it. Yemoja's voice trembled. But you were the only one with access to the god before it was sealed. You carried it that night. And you, Akin countered, wanted to leave the village. Said it to yourself. Maybe you thought if the god caused us, the village would collapse and you'd be free. Yemoja's lip parted in shock. You dare? But Ifeoma caught him, her voice soft, deadly. I lost my husband during the last pact. You all looked at me. But I stayed. I waited for the truth. Mama Tutu said nothing. She simply stared at all of them, then turned to Malik. What did the forest say to you? Malik drew a final shape in the soil, a spiral. A trap. The wind blew. Yemoja gasped, eyes wide. No! She stumbled backwards, staring at Mama Tutu. The old woman did not deny it. Instead, she began to hum a lullaby, the one only 3 people in the village knew. I warned them, she whispered. I begged them not to seal the pact with Chuka's blood, but they said it was noble enough, clean enough, worthy. Ifeoma's knees gave out. You knew? Mama Tutu's eyes were wet now. Chuka was my son, but they kept it quiet. They called him a willing sacrifice, said the forest would accept him. The others stood frozen. It wasn't meant to kill the village, Mama Tutu said, just to make them listen, just to unsee what they had buried. The truth, the guilt. I didn't break it, Mama Tutu replied. I opened it. I gave the forest back what it had been denied. The truth. Suddenly, the earth beneath them cracked. Roots lashed upward, cycling Mama Tutu like snake. But she didn't run. The forest had judged me, she said calmly, and I accepted. She looked at Ifeoma. Forgive me. I just wanted them to remember him. Then she smiled, and the forest swallowed her whole. The roots receded, the air cleared, the birds returned, the red-eyed ones vanished, and the chorus lifted. Only 4 returned to Ilaji. The villagers wept at their return. The rains came back that same evening. The drums played. But no one ever spoke of Mama Tutu again. Only Ifeoma planted a tree behind her hut, a tree with roots as deep as her grave. And on quiet nights, if you listen closely, you can still hear a lullaby beneath its leaves.